That's the wrong slide machine. Okay, so a little bit about me. So who this? This is me right here, if you can't tell. I'm a second-year transfer. I'm a CS major, and of course, I'm still a noob and proud of it. So this picture is the three of us who went to B-Side San Diego to participate in the CTF. We ended up getting 4th place out of about 20 teams. It was a pretty good event. It was the first time for one of our players and first time as a team getting to like a live CTF event. So I was pretty proud of that. All right, so capture the flag. So we're going to be talking about this over here. All these nice people huddled around computers. Not an equally awesome game outside, without shirts on, apparently. Does not sound safe at all. All right. So what is a CTF? It's a type of security competition. It's where the hackers go and test their skills. Take each other on. You can either do these as teams, or you can do them as individuals, or even a mix. For example, the CTF we'll dive into later today. You can do as an individual, which I think some of you probably already have, and others, maybe want to join teams to help boost your score in the limited amount of time. So CTFs are these events, and they take place around the world now. Some of the most famous ones are in Korea, Russia, India, here in the US also are some of the big ones. There's a really cool one in Brazil now that I've heard of. A little bit of history. These started in 1996 at DEF CON, which, if you're not familiar with, is one of the biggest hacker conventions, if not like the biggest one. All right, so this is kind of like a workshop, but I think it's better if we actually just jump into a CTF. So we're going to walk through kind of the experience. So if everyone is able to, go ahead and go to this URL. You can also Google it, and we can help you get registered for this part. And I'll probably keep talking while you guys do that. And Aaron should be in the chat to answer any questions if you have them.
Yeah, I'm posting the link in the chat and the shared notes if you want to just click it and make things easy.
Awesome. All right. Yeah, so following that link, you should come up to a page that asks you to register. You can click this register button here, and that'll take you over to this where you get to fill out your life story. All right, and then you'll probably, once you do that, it'll ask you to join a team, which feel free to make one if you want. And also, you can join up to 5 people can be on a team. So you can also join the, UCSD CTF team, the 3-pack. So, and this is the password that you'll need is Cyber 2020-04-15. All right, so I think we can take a couple-minute break to let everyone catch up with that. Before I continue talking and boring the heck out of everyone, I'm sure.
So just to reiterate, the 3POC team code and password is not going to be required for people to follow along with this presentation, correct?
Absolutely, yeah. You don't have to join the team at all. So it was just one that we set up if you wanted to kind of test that feature.
Yep. And if it limits to 5 people per team, then it will probably fill up pretty quickly once people start using that code to join, if everyone here joins it. I've not registered IRS, so if Bryce or Ishan or someone wants to create that team, you can feel free. Aaron Fan Club. Please don't make Aaron Fan Club. I will compete in Pico Ctf for the sole purpose of making sure Aaron Fan Club can't be on the leaderboard. I'll make 10 Smurf accounts and compete with all of them. Hey there, person who came late. I would address you by name, but your name is just colon and then the letter 0. We are currently signing up for Pico Ctf, which if you want to do, there's a link to it in the shared notes. Just register for it. It'll make you verify your email, so no like gorilla mail. Sorry, I don't think they like that. But they don't really ask you or send you emails or anything, so you should be fine. Oh yeah, it will ask for UCSD's zip code. I don't know. You can probably make stuff up, and it's not going to change much, but I believe it is 92093.
Yes, that's the right one. And you're right. Nobody really cares what information you put in there, especially since this is already almost 2 years old. So.
Oh yeah, it's a 2-year-old competition. Did they just not have it in 2019, or were we using the 2018 version?
I think for most of the people, or I shouldn't say most, I know there's some people in this probably that have done the 2019 one fairly recently in the fall quarter. So I figured 2018 people might have forgotten or might not have even known about it then. So
yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, I guess so. Like Pico Ctf, I can talk about a little bit. Is really it's a CTF designed for high school and middle school students. It's open to all the general public, but the actual competition portion is only awarded to the high school and middle school students. And it's definitely very beginner focused, which is another reason we chose this one to go with today.
It's also not paywalled, which is nice for all of you guys.
That's true as well. Yeah, talking about pay, actually, I should talk about a little bit about teams and why they're important. It's not only like, so most CTFs, you get a limited amount of time. And so being on a team obviously brings a lot of benefits. But one of the really cool things is if you're looking at the slides, is this wonderful, huge piece of cardboard in the middle of the picture there, which I think that one is $10,000, if I remember right. Or I might have an extra 0. But yeah, you can win a lot of good prize money if you get into CTFs. All right. So has everyone been able to register that's interested in registering? I think that it's pretty short. There's not a lot to it.
Yeah, I think now would be a good time to keep going.
There's only one person or 2 people registered for 3-pack if anyone wants to register for that one.
I know Emily set up a Aaron fan club and some people joined that. And it looks like that team is already full. So, and a few other people are just deciding which team to put. But I think everyone registered. They're just figuring out which team. Oh yeah, that's an easy way to do it. Ready check, yes or no. Uh-oh, I'm ready.
Yeah, I learned this from playing Dungeons and Dragons online. So everybody had a ready check. But all right, it looks like the majority of people are ready. So we'll go ahead and close this. All right, so types of CTFs. There's really 2 main types of CTFs. And so this first one is called Jeopardy. If anyone's heard of the game show here in the US, Jeopardy, it has a bunch of categories. Then they each have different point values for the questions. The goal of each of these questions is typically to find some kind of flag that scores points. Here's an example flag. Typically it has an event name and then curly brackets with a random string between the brackets. Another common one is just a bunch of strings concatenated with underscores, as is another type of flag that you see often. Categories range all over the board, from general knowledge trivia, which is essentially just Googling Web exploits, which if you went to Aaron's software hacking workshop last week, you'd kind of understand some of that, along with the reversing challenges. Exploitation sometimes is similar to reversing, though the techniques are slightly different. Forensics covers investigating images or packet captures, maybe, along with networking. The second CTF is probably the most fun one, but sadly is the least common out of the two. It's attack and defense. So, and just like it sounds, you get a group of teams together and start battling it out for control. They also hide flags, so there'll be a file on your server that is flag 1, and your job is to make sure no other teams can steal that data from you. And then again, because it's not just defense, you also attack against other people. The most famous one is the DEF CON CTF, specifically the finals. The DEF CON CTF qualifiers is a Jeopardy style. For colleges, UC Santa Barbara hosts attack and defense CTF, which I believe happened just recently, I think a month ago or 2 months ago. All right. So there's also some other competitions in the security world, but they're not really CTFs. So the two prime examples here is Cyber Patriots, which I think some of the high school do here in San Diego as well as throughout the country. I know some of the members of the club also have participated in that. And then you have the National Collegiate Cyber Defense Competition. And these types of events focus more on like realistic business environments. So you're protecting a server, but you're not capturing any flags, or you're not digging through different challenges. They throw problems at you that are realistic to the world, like, hey, we need you to turn on the email server, or configure the firewall to prevent attacks. These kind of challenges. They're still really good learning experiences. Especially this National Collegiate Cyber Defense competition, which we do have a team here as UCSD. But yeah, they're different than the CTFs overall. All right, so if anyone's logged in to their Pico Ctf, let's do another poll here. And I gotta click this button. So what CTF do you think?
Can you redefine the options real fast? Just because, is A going to be Jeopardy?
Oh, oops,
and then
sorry.
B is going to be...
yeah.
Okay.
Oh, shoot. I totally forgot to do that. I was copying and pasting. That's what happens.
Okay.
So let's see. Can I do annotations?
You can annotate. They're kind of ugly, but they work. Yeah, we can see that.
Did I spell that right?
Yes. Geoparty.
This is
okay. Those are your polling options.
Another. Okay.
Yes, no, other.
Yeah. It made sense when I read it the first time. What can I say? All right, there's 3 more people out there. All right, so the majority of you said A, and that is the correct answer. Pico Ctf is a Jeopardy style. As we'll see in a minute, they use categories and challenges with hints as well, and questions, and you have to find flags. All right, so we're going to play another kind of like polling game because I thought it would be fun to test this feature out like to the max. So even though some of you probably haven't participated in CTFs, we're going to try to guess which platforms these might be. So we'll go ahead for the first one. What platform do you think this is? At least this one, there's no yes or no options. So. All right. So this one seems like, oh, there was some last minute movement here. A couple more people want to take a guess. All right, so we had a pretty good split here, and I don't know how to move this thing. All right. So the right answer was D, Nightshade, for this one. All right. So keeping going. Oh man, that GIF broke horribly. All right, we'll skip that one. That was the coolest one. All right. Let's try this one. Yeah, so the main point of like this game is kind of just to take a look briefly. Hopefully, I know it's kind of small on everyone's screen. I don't know if you can max it out or not. But it's kind of like just get a look at how different CTFs might look when you go and start playing. All right. All right, so we had another pretty close split here. The correct answer for this one was E, Mellivora, which could be given away if you look up here because Mellivora is also the honey badger, which is pretty cool, I guess. I have never seen a CTF on this platform, but during my research, I thought it was kind of an interesting one because who doesn't love honey badgers, right? All right. So this one is actually a scoreboard for a CTF, and this is one of the attack and defend CTFs. I was talking about earlier. All right. Very, very close tie between Google and CTF. While this is probably the prettiest one we've seen so far, actually all of these answers are wrong because I'm a horrible person and remove options on purpose. Because this is actually very similar in color and design to the Facebook one. So I wanted to throw it in there as a trick, but we didn't get to see the Facebook one. So that's the clue for the next question. All right. And all right, so there's only two more of these questions. If you guys want to try to do the process of elimination theory. All right. So I think this one we're going to get right as a group here, as the A's have it with the Google CTF. So yes, this is indeed the main page for one of the CTF challenges made by Google. Their platform is actually not open source, like Facebook, CTFD, Mellivora, and Nightshade. All right, so last question here. Let's see who can kind of get familiar with these platforms. I think this was the fastest and most consensus we've had so far. And that's right. Yes, this is CTFD. This one is probably by far the most popular environment you'll see because it's really, really easy to set up and manage if anyone's interested in setting one up. It also has like a Docker image that you can just drop into like a cloud environment to host your event very, very easily. All right. Okay, so why do we do CTFs? Well, it's the best way to get started in security. learned so much through the hands-on experience. And like one of the funny things that I like to talk about is from CTF we took in fall quarter. I learned a tool that I'd never seen before, which is honestly a really kind of noob tool. Again, I'm a noob. It's XXD, which is a hex kind of tool, hex reader, hex editor tool. And I use that in my 100 class for when we were doing the compression assignment. So if anyone hasn't taken CSE 100 yet, you do a compression PA, and it helps a lot if you can read the bits at that level. And XXD was one of the tools I used. And thanks to RJ, one of our club members, the vice president of the Cybersecurity Club, he showed me that tool. So companies also host CTF events, and they use them to recruit employees. You've also heard of, your typical coding interview or coding challenges. So security focused companies or teams, like even, companies like Google, Apple, Facebook, they also have security focused teams. They host CTF style events as part of their recruitment. There's also education opportunities. So I think, Aaron, recently you did Cyber Fast Track, which is a competition to potentially earn a scholarship to a SANS Institute. Correct me if I'm wrong on that.
That is correct. I saw it as part of the cyber groups promoted CTFs, and I actually had the time for some reason, which is ironic because I didn't have time for the NCL, which was later, and the organization I actually work for. But it was actually pretty fun. I liked the Tomahawk platform that they used. It wasn't one of the polling options, but every time I've used that, it was pretty nice, pretty slick.
Yeah, I was thinking about that. I didn't have any screenshots from Tomahawk, though, sadly, so I didn't use that one. But yeah, so that competition gives you the opportunity to apply for a scholarship to the SANS Institute's, and it's an undergraduate certification program, and it's worth like over $20,000 in scholarship money. So good luck, Aaron. Hopefully you can get that scholarship.
I don't know if I was that high up. We'll see.
Yeah. All right. Okay, so let's kind of like jump back to Pico Ctf for a bit to really kind of understand what CTF is. So I'm going to try to share my screen now. And let's share this one. All right. Hopefully the screen is not overly grainy.
We can see it. It's a little bit small just because of the text on the website, but it can definitely see enough.
Oh, but this takes away my slides. No worries. I've got this. Come on. All right. Well, we'll just do it this way.
Okay. Just a reminder, don't use this for too long if you can. Like, just go back to the PDF for the simple reason that it it timestamps the presentation for the recording. Yeah, so people can like click around and stuff to get to it when they watch it later. It's a little easier on bandwidth too.
All right. So yeah, I'll be quick on this. So yeah, you can see this is the main screen that you should go to right now is the problems list. So if you've signed in, go to the problems list there. All right, we'll go back to the slides. That's probably better. All right, so forensics. Let's go ahead and start with forensics. Again, forensics is kind of looking at what data exists on like different kinds of devices. So, you can dig into an image of a machine and pull off what happened recently, which is very, very cool because you can find out like what time people were playing video games through forensics. So some of the challenges we selected to give a try here is Hex Editor. So if you're on the problems page, you should be able to Control F for Hex Editor. And then also Now You Don't is the title of the other challenge. So we're going to pause here and take about 10 minutes to go and see if you can find those flags. And I will kind of talk through it, I guess.
If we take about 10 minutes or so, we can just pause the recording for now and then just resume it again once we've given people their time.
Okay, that works.
Yep, I'll pause it.
Yeah. So Aaron, do you think I should just like walk through what we did for these challenges?
Yeah, you can do it or I can do it. It's up to you.
Yeah.
If I have a different way that I did it, then I'll speak up.
Well, let's see. Hold on. I gotta get the challenge back. So basically they built out this file structure where all their challenges are, and we can go ahead and we'll CD into it. So, change your directory, see what files we have available with ls. There's a hex editor. And just because I did the challenge already, I'm going to pipe this into tail, which will, if anyone knows what that is, it should give us the last 10 lines. And so here at the end of the file, you can see the ASCII and the hex for the different bits, or bytes rather, sorry. All right, so that's kind of like a fun little one to learn. And again, this is that tool that I was talking about earlier. It has a lot of cool features. Okay, so the second problem that we worked on was Now You Don't. So this one required you to download a picture, which I will do here. And if you didn't notice, there's also these wonderful hints that can let you kind of check out different things. So for this one, I ended up using Paint just to go ahead and do this. So I will open that in Paint for you. So here's this image in Paint. It's all red. What the heck is going on here? No idea. And eventually you find out that if you just put the black background, you can see this wonderful flag. So Aaron, did you have a different way at all for any of these?
Yeah, yeah, I could show a couple of different ways to do that. Those are probably the two fastest ways to come to the solution, but I could show off a couple of ways that you could maybe figure out how that would be the direction you would go. Does that sound good?
Yeah.
Okay, sure thing. Let me just commandeer this real fast. And I will share my screen on screen 1. Allow. Make sure that this is working properly. I think I've already got these challenges downloaded. You don't have to interface with the SSH to tackle these problems. So for instance, the Hex Editor one, the name of the file is a good giveaway. So I think one of the more popular Hex editors on Windows is HXD. I never used this myself. I literally just downloaded it right now. But if you open this file in here, you're going to get output a lot similar to the command line tool that Chris used. And you already know from looking at the file that it is a JPEG file. And from doing that, you know that there are several bytes in a JPEG file that indicates that it's a JPEG file. For example, you'll always see this plain text JFIF at the top of the bytes in the file, indicating that it's a JPEG. And if you scroll all the way down to the end of a file, every JPEG always ends with, let's see here, FFD9, isn't it? I believe FFD9 is the ending indicators for a JPEG file. So in actuality, if you were to just saw off these last 40 bytes or so, you would get the same thing, the same JPEG file. It would look the same. But what they did is they just added a bunch of bytes at the end of the file, which turns out to be plain text. And when you look at the file, the JPEG in a normal viewer, it will read the JPEG and it'll get to FFD9 and it'll just stop. It doesn't really care what's at the end. So the file still looks the same. It looks like a picture. The difference is that you, of course, have this text at the end that you can see if you look at it through Hex. I actually don't use XXH or HXD. I use Sublime Text because I'm insane. I'll just like rename it to a text file. Oops. Or rename it to really anything that isn't a JPEG. And then I have a plugin that lets me toggle the hex view and you get to the same place. So rather than just scrolling through here, if I wanted to know if the flag was in here, we know what the flag looks like. So I can literally just search the word Pico and it takes me right to the end where the flag is. So without any knowledge of the JPEG format, we can still get there pretty easily. Then for the second one, you might think of doing the same thing where you open it in a text editor, or a hex editor, I should say. And I can do that, but basically you'll just kind of not learn a lot. Like if you search for Pico Ctf, you're not going to find anything, which leads you to believe that it's hidden in a different way. To analyze a picture, if you have Photoshop, Paint is honestly the easiest way to do it. But if you have Photoshop, you can also use a bunch of tools to help learn more about this picture. You can do analysis on it to kind of see what the colors are. For example, if I were to go over here to like curve adjustments, you can kind of see a graph of all the different shades that are in this picture. And you can see two different spikes here, right? There's this one, which is a majority of the color. And then there's this second one that's kind of off in the middle of nowhere that's a lot shorter for some reason. And actually, interestingly enough, if you drag these curve adjustments so that it just barely kind of traps this very fine point, you can actually force the image to appear, which I thought was kind of interesting. Yeah, you can pretty much see it now at this point, right? So Photoshop is very cool for analysis like this, but by no means necessary. If you have Paint, that's also a good shortcut. So yeah, those are those challenges. You can go ahead and actually I'll try to give back presenter. There we go.
Yeah, that's actually you remind me of something. Another common one with images is to just run strings on it if you use like the Linux terminal, and I think that's available on Mac OS. So string just prints out all the strings that are found in the file. So you can also do that, pipe it into grep for Pico Ctf, and you'll be able to find that first flag as well. All right. So yeah, so was everyone, I guess we should have done this first. Everyone able to see those flags? I think we'll just skip this poll since we gave the answer away. All right. So the next one is you're probably going to want a terminal if you don't have one available for at least for this first challenge, Netcat. And the second one is probably useful. All right, and this one should be kind of quick if you have a terminal open. And we can take 5 minutes, maybe 10, if you want Aaron to pause the video again.
Sure thing. See you guys on the other side. Pause. Just resumed recording for you guys. But if you found the flags, answer the poll.
All right. So as you're answering, I will go ahead and kind of walk through these ones. So this first one, Netcat, is, like its name, is Netcat. So hopefully some of you are familiar with this. If not, don't worry. Netcat is a really useful tool, and you'll see it a lot in these types of CTFs where it's hosted in a cloud environment and you have to connect to it somehow. Netcat is one of the easiest ways to interact with those servers. So, all right, I'm going to release this so you guys can see. Great job for everybody who found the flags. Let's go ahead and share my screen for a minute. All right. Oh, wow, that is super blurry. Can I increase the size? Hopefully that's a little better. Okay, wow, that's much clearer. All right, so this is Netcat. It's, their output for the help. You can always do, what everyone else says to do is view the man page on Netcat. Essentially, it's a way to listen and communicate over ports, connecting between, servers and clients. That's kind of like the most simple answer I can give on what exactly this does. All right, so let's go grab this first challenge, Netcat. So it's telling us, hey, using Netcat, it's going to be necessary. So let's connect to this on this port. So I'm just going to grab this first. All right, so NC space using the usage, and then the port number. Oops, wrong button. All right. Hey, that wasn't so hard. And there's our flag. Okay. So the second one, as everybody was saying in chat, you had to be quick. What base? So this one, oops, pretty good for kind of what you would have learned in CSE 30. So if anyone's taken that yet, this is definitely what you would have learned. So for this one, I like to use a lot of websites because websites are always quick and easy. One of the ones I like to use is this one, is rapid tables. So we can paste this, convert, and it gives us a word. This is binary to text. So we can input couch. It gives us to this next one, which you can kind of identify hex. I'm just going to do this quickly so I don't time out here on this challenge. So we have hex to ASCII down here. Paste, get our word, tab back quickly. Okay, so this one is kind of a fun one and kind of a pain because rapid tables did not have a good convert tool. So I ended up using this other website, which I think also holds the other features. And that's not the right word. Hurry up. Oh, that's it. I think it's couch. Oops. And I crashed everything. This is why you don't do demos live normally. Okay. Oh, wrong site. Come on. Stove. X. Paste this again. I got doctor. And I added like a random space in there. Hopefully this website works faster to this phone. There we go. Okay, copy this last word and paste it. And that's our flag. So to talk kind of about how we identify these different things, you can kind of tell binary is pretty straightforward. You've got the ones and zeros, groups of 8 bits. So that gives you your byte and can translate that to ASCII. Hex, look for strings of numbers with letters ranging between A and F. And those should also be paired as well. So you'll see those, in groups of like pairs, and then that will be how long your word is normally. And then the last one, octal, is usually in that 3-number format and spaces in between the numbers. So that one's also fun to look at. All right. So good job, everybody, on getting those flags. So hopefully that answered your questions. Aaron, did you have any input here that you wanted to add?
Yeah, I'll try to see how quickly I can show this tool off, only because it's going to be very useful for the next challenges that are coming up here, if that's okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
The thing. So if I share my screen real fast, going through this lovely process again, if I netcat into the server a website that I like to use for dealing with encodings, different encodings, and different types of encryption, especially encodings, is Cybersecurity. It's basically literally like a CTF tool. It's designed to help you process data. You put your input up here, whatever it is, like ones and zeros, whatever the data you think is hiding some plain text, and then you just repeatedly like drag different operations over here into the recipe area, and then it will apply them in order, and you can like move them around and set parameters, and then over here in the output, it will kind of basically apply this recipe to whatever your input is and tell you what it is. And this website is clever enough that if the encryption, air quotes, is as simple as just a base encoding, 90% of the time it will guess that and just apply it for you, like with a little magic wand. I'm just going to go ahead and demonstrate that by having Netcat on my computer. Let's try this one instead. This one's going to be a little bit smaller, but I'll still be able to show what I want to show, so we're good. Let me get the netcat command. There we go. So for this one, it's going to give me the binary. I'm just going to go ahead and copy the binary from there into input. I'll get this little magic wand because it notices that binary is probably how it's encoded, and then I just go ahead and paste it right back. Then it gives me this next little piece of information. I'm going to copy this, and I'm going to delete the recipe, click the magic wand, get the new one. And then for this, like, if I knew it was octal, that'd be great. But if I had no idea, then this thing could just tell me. And done. Ta-da! So that's pretty cool. It gives you a flag. This is how, if you want to use this tool for the crypto challenges coming up in the slides, this can be applied to all of them. So yeah, have fun. You pass it on back.
All right. So reversing is the next kind of category we want to look at. So this typically focuses on, so there's two things you'll have to look at with wonderful, good old assembly language. Is reversing focuses on process like execution, whereas like binary exploits typically look at flaws in input and output options. So this, you have to look at output and input, but typically you look at the process flow overall to get the correct input rather than force issues in the code. So we'll go ahead and start off with this kind of easy one, assembly 0. So hopefully everyone's able to take a look at that, and that one should take about 10 minutes, especially if you got to figure out how to look at this assembly code. I don't know, Aaron, what you might use, but I think you could always use good old GDB if you've taken 15L. That's always like a entry-level reverse engineering option. So you're going to want to look at the reversing challenges, and it should be assembly-0.
And just a heads up, if you don't have any experience with assembly or you haven't taken CSE 30, these are going to be pretty difficult. So feel free to Google around for a little bit, but if it's a little too hard, don't worry about it. It's no big deal. We'll show you.
Post it. All right, so it seems like the majority of people had some issues with this one, which is always good. Good way to learn. And hopefully I don't mess this up too bad, since I had to take CSE 30 twice with my good friend Rick Ord. I don't know. I should do a poll on how many people had Rick. Great guy, great guy. All right, so I'm going to start here with the assembly 0. So the main question we kind of want to see here is, what does ASM0 and then 2 hex values return? And then so it says submit the flag as hexadecimal starting with 0x. Note your submission will not be in the normal flag format. So that's one really important key thing to look for in challenges, is to make sure you know what flag you're submitting in, because sometimes you'll be submitting the wrong answer even though you understand the problem correctly. So for this one, I actually just went ahead and downloaded the source file, and I dropped this one into Vim to kind of just take a look at what this code does to start out. So if you take in CSE 30, you've worked mostly in ARM. So all these wonderful EBP, ESP, dword pointer. I don't think it's dword pointer in ARM, if I remember right. EAX, all this kind of looks kind of foreign to you. It still looks foreign to me. But the essential kind of things are still here. You start your program, end your program. Here you're returning a value. You're moving a bunch of data back and forth between register values. So basically, if I remember this correctly, we're going to be doing like a swap here. You can see we're storing whatever information at this value plus this number of bytes, the address into EAX, and then we're going to put this data into EBX. Then we're going to move EBX into EAX, move EB into SP, and then return out of this. So essentially what we're doing, if we go back to the problem, is we are going to take in these 2 values, and we are going to end up returning the second value out of this. So we come over here, we work through this problem. So then we should go back to this and be able to submit this as our flag. And hopefully this is right. And of course, there's no response. Oh, it's already been solved. Okay. So that should have been the right answer. Everyone's values might have been different, so the flag might have been slightly different as well. Aaron, is that kind of how you would have gone through this?
Oh man, yeah, it was a little difficult. I definitely had to make heavy use of those articles there. I think the biggest learning curve for me was understanding, I know how to program, right? And I know how to pass variables into a function and how to return a variable out of a function, but I don't really know how that's handled in assembly. And I think the first article I linked in shared notes does a really good job of talking about the 2 different paradigms that are commonly used to return values. And basically the idea is that the base pointer, the EBP register, is what's being used to basically pass a pointer to the start of the parameters that are being passed in, the 2 little integers. So once you know that, you can kind of follow. Yeah, the labels are really rough. Both of those 2 articles I linked help demystify the labels a little bit, but I think that's the hardest part of this problem, is just sitting there and walking through it once you know the labels.
Yeah, I definitely agree that, especially, like I was saying, we deal with ARM, which is very different in their labeling. So other reversing problems focus a lot on that, kind of reading the code and finding answers to the problems. A common one, I think, is the passwords, where they give you the code and they give instructions to how they validate the password. And you have to come up with a password to validate correctly. All right, so cryptography, these ones are always really fun, I think, for a lot of people, because they're the most common kind of game people are familiar with. At least in my opinion, it's probably the most familiar one for most people. Yeah, Aaron's posting CyberChef in chat. All right. So yeah, we'll go ahead and just take 5 minutes to kind of dive into cryptography here. Cryptography basically is just the manipulation of information, typically to hide it, because cryptography, unlike encryption, is typically reversible. So hopefully encryption is not reversible. So. Aaron, you are an NCL ambassador, and you're not recommending Rumpkin?
I guess I'm not.
Kate is obsessed with Rumpkin.
Yeah, so I've heard. Crypto's fun. To be honest, all my friends who did a lot of CTFs really pushed the whole CyberChef thing, that I just found it kind of confusing. So, but I eventually started using, was that tool I just put in chat, Crypty, and it was a little bit more user-friendly. And like, once you understand how those types of websites work, you kind of understand how all of them work. So like, once I use Crypty, I'm like, oh yeah, I totally get how to use this now. Time to never use this again, because I'm going to use CyberChef. Because there are a lot more tools in the CyberChef bucket that are especially useful for, beginner to moderate level CTFs, I feel. I've actually never used Rumpkin. Don't tell anyone I said this, but I actually was in a Slack chat, a Zoom call, while the other NCL player ambassadors were doing the individual games, because they could do them together because like they're not ranked. But there are a lot of NCL player ambassadors who solve all of the crypto challenges entirely inside of Burp Suite, using the built-in crypto tools of Burp Suite. Which, like, I mean, some of them are actual professional cybersecurity people, pen testers, what have you. So I guess it kind of makes sense if they're using that particular type of software every single day. For those of you who don't know, Burp Suite is like a premium kind of, there's like a freemium version of it, but then you pay more and get past the paywall and unlock more features. But it's basically like a hacking toolkit, so to speak, all written in Java, and it just has a bunch of tools like fuzzers and crypto tools, obviously, and a little bit of like Postman type features that is pretty useful. But by no means do you need to pay to be a hacker, which is one of the nicer things about having this hobby.
Yeah, Burp Suite, the free version, is really rough. You have to do a lot of like manual labor, so it doesn't have the value. And like somebody mentioned in chat, it's for web exploitation, so it's really good for attacking websites more so than like once you get onto a network environment. But Zap, the Zed attack proxy from OWASP, is a pretty good completely free automated tool for web attacking. But there's no crypto support though. At least not that I know of. Yeah, so actually I remember doing this challenges like a year ago, and for some reason this warm-up one was actually harder than like the other ones, because I did not find like a tool to do it like automatically. I just did it by hand.
If the first one's the one I'm thinking of, let me make sure that it's the one I'm actually thinking of. Yeah, so they have the table, but in reality, it's just using something called the Visionaire Cipher. So it is built straight into CyberChef and a couple of those other platforms. But they don't tell you that, so you really do just kind of have to recognize that it's the Visionaire.
Yeah, that's
Another thing I actually forgot to mention, I wanted to mention this before we started. Some of you might be running into this problem. For the first two cryptos, honestly, for all the cryptos, make absolutely certain to check the hints. There is no penalty, but they sometimes will tell you very important things, like the flag format, for instance. I think the first one's a little tricky on the flag format. What you get out is going to be all lowercase, and what you need to actually put into the box is all uppercase surrounded by the brackets and the Pico Ctf in front of it. So that one was the trickiest one for me personally.
Yeah, that might have gotten me too originally. That's not fair.
Do you want to do the poll?
Yeah, let me move the next slide here. Is it just we haven't given enough time, do you think? Some people, we've got about an even split right now.
If you're going to answer these questions, the polls, just treat it like kind of like if you have some of the flags, that's probably good enough. Like if one of them is giving you trouble, just say you found the flags, rather than like, you know, I couldn't find one flag, I couldn't find the flags.
All right. Are you able to see the poll behind the screen, Aaron?
No, I think you'd have to publish it.
Yeah, we'll just go ahead and publish it there. So yeah, like I said, about an even split on this one. And you know what? Let me pull up Rumpkin real quick. That was always the one I went to first. And then you can show CyberChef after if you'd like.
I might.
All right. So yeah, so cryptography, you know, taking messages and hiding them. So this is Rumpkin. It's a free online tool which has a bunch of different ciphers that you can use to decrypt stuff. So this first one, as Aaron kind of already pointed out, we have something that is hidden. We have a key of some kind, and there's a table, which I don't think I opened it, but it looks like a square with numbers on top and a bunch of letters that crisscross. And you can do it by hand, but as Aaron pointed out, we should be able to just put this in here, and I got to change this to decrypt alphabet key. All right, and oops, password, wrong thing. And the message. There we go. Yeah, so this comes out as secret message. And this one, I think somebody mentioned doing this in the intro to cryptography class, and you had to do it by hand on the quiz. So it might be a fun one to try by hand also. All right, so warm up number 2. So yeah, so this one kind of gives a clue. Again, always use Google to start out. So if you don't know what ROT13 stands for, just kind of look it up, and it should be able to help you. So yeah, so ROT13 is a very common rotation cipher, which you just take your alphabet and rotate it by 13 letters. So in this tool, it'll automatically rotate the 13 letters for you. And this one you can also solve by hand with letter like appearance analysis. So especially since it looks like the format of Pico Ctf, you can kind of guess what letters go where. All right, and then the third one, what was the third one, Aaron? Do you remember?
I believe it was Caesar Cipher 1.
Ah, Caesar Cipher. Okay. So this one, let's see, we can get the message. And man, this is like super laggy today. So the Caesar cipher is also like a rotation cipher. Let's see if this works. So they give us this like flag output. Oh, you know what? I don't think it's going to let me copy from here. Visionaire shift. Nope. Ah, damn it.
I can post that text for you if you want it.
I just gotta open it in my notepad real quick. Right. I don't know. Did you post it already?
No, I'm lagging.
No worries. All right, so Pico Ctf was already there, so we can just try to rotate this with the Caesar shift. So you just hit the down button until you see something that looks like words, and then here we go. Just a good old Caesar cipher, and then a random string, which I believe is just the like they hide words in here to make sure it's a different flag so you can't cheat. If nobody knew that. Yeah, okay, this one was shifted 6 times. Basically, it's the same as a ROT13, so if we go back to the rotation 13 challenge, we can also probably get this with the Caesar cipher, if I remember correctly. We put this in here, go to 13 letters, and it gives you the same answer. So basically, that's where it came from. Caesar used this way back in the day, and yeah. So Aaron, do you want to share your speediness with your CyberChef?
Yeah, sure, why not? This will only take about, I don't know, maybe 30 seconds. So I can probably just show how you would do this with CyberChef. Let's make sure I'm streaming the right screen. Here we go. So for the first one, you're given this as the input, and this is the key. If you've taken Math 187A or Math 187B, they teach you a little bit about historical ciphers. So you'll recognize that one of the more popular ways to decode something using another string is the Visionaire Cipher. That's literally the only reason I knew where to go with this one. So that was the first one. Thanks, school. I did learn something. For the second one, it tells you what to use. It tells you to use ROT13. I don't think it can guess what to do here, so let's just go ahead and put ROT13 on there, and there's your second flag. For the third flag, we're actually going to leave ROT13 there, but the difference is we're just going to like click through this. They actually don't have a dedicated Caesar shift. You kind of have to just click through here until it, oh, found it. Oh, wait, no, I didn't. I wasn't paying attention to this part of the text. That was the amount I had to actually check. Let's see here. There it goes. So for some reason, this one, they didn't shift the actual Pico Ctf characters, I assumed, so you couldn't like use that knowledge to figure out what the rotation was, but it's kind of inconsistent. So you want the Pico Ctf and the brackets with this content, which you can tell is English. In fact, maybe if I got rid of the brackets, it might be able to tell it's English. I don't know. Okay, maybe not. Well, anyways, that's how to do it. So I'll pass control back over. Thank you for playing. Oh, Chris, sorry. If you're talking, I don't think we can hear you. Your mic isn't picking you up anymore.
Sorry. Yeah, thank you for that.
Yeah, there it goes.
All right, so yeah, so if you participated in Aaron's workshop last week or last quarter, you guys would be kind of familiar with some of these challenges in web exploitation. So you're looking at websites, you're looking at the code of the websites, you're looking at how the website might interact with backend applications. So yeah, so we'll dive right into this one. This one should be kind of quick and easy. Pico Ctf, they kind of limited what you get up front, and as you solve more challenges appear. So we couldn't really do a lot of hard ones today, but maybe after the call, you guys want to get together and go over it, we can. So yeah, so let's take a break here for 5 minutes because these should be fairly quick, especially if you went to last week's workshop. But at least the first one should be really quick. Second one, like Aaron mentioned, might trip up some people, so.
What's the poll looking like?
We've got like 7 people out of the 17 here that responded so far. And it looks like most everyone's doing pretty good.
Woo!
All right. So I will try to walk through this as we go because I totally forgot how to do this. All right. So for this first one, the clue is very helpful because it wants you to inspect. So you can inspect many different ways. You can also just view source for this one, which I'll also give that option. So view source is personally where I always start out when I do like anything with web, is just kind of see what the source tells us. And so you read through, and I should probably increase the size so people can actually read this. All right, so yeah, you read through, and at least with Zap, the Z attack proxy, you can actually find comments automatically. So this one is would be helpful because this one involves a lot of comments. So yeah, so here it says, hey, I learned HTML. Here's 1/3 of the flag. And there you go. So you start out there. Going back to the original website, you can see there's probably a lot of different pages, subpages, sitemap stuff. So we can also look at sources. It's another way to do this. So you can kind of click through the different source information when you do the inspect, and you can find more comments like this one here, which again is probably too small. That totally like had the debugger. Close. All right, so there's another comment here. This is part 3 of 3, but there's nothing there. That's kind of weird. So we can go check out the next file in here, and what do you know? There's another comment, part 2 of 3, which is actually like the only other part we need. We don't even need to find part 3. So yeah, so you take all those, can put them together, and you got your flag. And let me start from the beginning of this one. All right. This challenge probably did get a lot of people. There's my challenge. All right, so, all right, A, just follow the instructions, see what happens. click on button 1. Hey, we did it. Great. Let's try button 2. Oh no, something happened. And we get this wonderful video because we're all getting rickrolled right now. Hopefully everyone knows what that is. And look at, they don't even care wherever they put it. They send everything to dev null. Actually, let's see. See, this is where I forget which one it is, Aaron. Is it in this one? Yeah, okay, there we go. So yeah, looking at the source for this one, we can see something that says form action method post, which kind of gives us a clue of what we might want to do, which involves communicating with web servers, which there's kind of two main ways to communicate. One is the get, where you're requesting information, and the second one is post, where you send information to, register on the site. So we want to send a post request to this site and see what is going on. And sorry, I gotta get the right link to send to this website. So again, I like free web tools. Here's a post HTTP request online. So we'll change our request to a post. And as you can see, you get post, put, patch, delete, head. We're going to send US stuff. And then we want to send it to page 2. We'll go back and oops, view source. Where's the URL? It should be this one with button 2. So we're going to take this URL up here and change it to button 2, because we're pretty sure that's where we want to go. We'll send that off and hopefully get a response sometime today. All right, and so you can see the response over here, or maybe you can't because my screen is too small. So again, here's the URL. We want to go to page button 2, since the first button page was button 1. We send a post request. If we scroll down, we got a OK 200 response, and content of the response is well done. Another way to do it would be, maybe packet captures, replay attacks, stuff like that. Aaron, do you have any advice on this stuff that I might have missed?
I'll show one quick way to do the second one. I think the first one you did pretty much the way that I did it, but I'll go ahead and show off maybe a quick way to do it inside of your browser, just if you don't want to use a website to do it, or maybe are not sure how to do it that way. If I go ahead and show my screen, and I go ahead and get the URL to the website. What's it called? Buttons, right? Okay. I am finding it off on another tab, and I am copying a link, and I'm putting it here. There we go. All right. So for the first button, it takes me to the second button, and then for the second button, it takes me to my favorite video on the internet. And yeah, I actually didn't even notice that there was a hint on how to do like form post on this page in the source code. What I did notice, however, is that when you go to F12, which you can also get to by doing inspect element, I went to my network tab just to see what kind of request this was, because when I saw access denied, I thought maybe there was something wrong about the way I was requesting it. When I pressed button 2, I noticed that I submitted a request. Then the browser will just keep track of all of the different requests that this me clicking on that button caused to happen. I'll actually go ahead and full screen this. But if I click on button 2, you'll see over here that we got the status code 303C other. And if you have no idea what that means, you can probably Google it or click right here. Maybe it'll even tell you. Mozilla has a little doc for it. But C other redirect status code indicates that the redirects don't link. Okay, well, it basically means that it doesn't like you using get by default, when you click the link, it used the get method to request it. So I thought maybe I could use the post method to request it instead and not have it redirect me to boo.html, which is where the Rickroll is. You can actually do that right in Firefox. Just click on the specific network request, go over here to edit and resend. Ignore everything, but in the method, type in post, hit send. It will create a new request that returns 200. And if I click on this request, whoops, if I click on this request once and I go over to response, you'll also have your flag writing here. So that's one way to do it straight from your browser. This is with Firefox. You might be able to do something similar with Chrome, but I think with Chrome, you might need to install an extension to do that. So there you go. Thanks for tuning in. I will pass control back on over.
All right. All right, so the last category we're going to talk about tonight is the binary exploitation. So this is very similar to what Aaron went over last week. Lots of kind of repeat, but this is kind of give you a chance to experience it again, because what do you know, practice makes perfect. So let's go back to the Pico Ctf challenges for one last time. Take about 5 minutes to see if you can figure out buffer overflow 0.
And I will go ahead and say that this is, as Chris indicated, very similar to something we went over just a week ago. So if you were there for that workshop, you've definitely picked up some skills that'll help you punch through this.
Already. Nope. All right, so it looks like more people need to attend the workshops, Aaron. We were about 50-50 on the amount of people who solved this one.
Is this the one that makes you do Netcat to interact with it?
No, you do it from the shell on their website.
Oh, that's probably going to be the big learning curve, I think.
Yeah, that might be it. Here, we'll just do another poll. So how many people had problems with the shell environment? It's also about 50-50. All right.
Then we definitely have a correlation.
Yeah. Except for I think the people that voted last time didn't even vote this time. Different voters missed the polls. All right. I'm not going to publish that one. But here, I'll just share my screens. We're coming up on 8 o'clock, so I'm going to try to wrap this up here soon. All right, for this one, so I already changed into this directory that they gave you in the hint, the clue, I guess. So we'll check out what we got. Here we got the flag, we got the vuln, and we got the vuln.c. So we can actually look at the source file if we wanted to. But just for the sake of time, let's just see what happens when we run this program. Hey, look, it tells us it takes an argument. Let's just put an A there. Thanks received. Well, that didn't do anything. Like if you were in the workshop last week, I think Aaron talked about how simple some of these are, and you just throw a bunch of A's out there because I like A, and at some point I break it, and it returns the flag. So that one was, yeah, pretty straightforward. This one, I would say, is probably an average kind of beginning binary exploit one. So whenever you're in CTFs, I'd probably say, I don't know, it's probably 80% the first binary exploit is going to be this type of buffer overflow.
Interestingly enough about it, actually, I thought for a minute that it might be more complicated, and I kind of wanted to see how they made it work. So I opened it up in a disassembler. I used Cutter to take a look at what the code was inside of it. And it's actually very contrived. Like, I thought the example that I made up for last week's workshop was a contrived example where you kind of have to like overwrite this password variable, and like the source code though would make sense, right? The way this one worked was even more contrived than that. Literally what they do is they read the flag from a file that you don't have permission to read. Then once that flag is inside of memory, they literally add a segfault handler hook to print the flag if there's a segfault at all. So rather than like, reading some piece of memory you're not supposed to, it literally just checks to see if you perform a segfault, any kind of segfault, which, if you're in CSE 12 with Gary, anyone here who's had CSE 12 with Gary has plenty of experiences causing segfaults. Solving this challenge was that easy. It was very just much like, okay, you caused this segfault, here it is, here's the flag.
Yeah, it really was nice and easy. So yeah, just real quick, I just wanted to share the screen so you can kind of see the code. Yeah, you can see, like he's talking about, they got the buffer, they open the flag, store it, fgets flag, signal, segfault, and then if your args is 1, thanks received, else print this program takes 1 argument. All right, very cool. All right. So yeah, so CTFs and kind of like our club. So we have 2 CTF teams right now, I guess. Really, we have like one main one that is just anyone who wants to get involved can. So CTFs in general, there's probably one like every weekend. We have this nice calendar that we share for our club, and it lists most of the events we're going to be hosting and participating in. So 3 of the big ones that we're going to send like a competition team to for like this people who really want to get serious with CTFs is Plaid CTF, which is this weekend. DEF CON qualifications, which is going to be later in May. They postponed that. It was supposed to be like last weekend. And then Pwn to Win is going to be also at the end of the quarter in May. And we'll probably hit a few here and there over the next couple weekends in between those as well, whenever people have time. So if you want to get involved, you can join our teams. Post your interest here at this URL or the QR code. It should take you to a Google Doc where you can sign up. This is our team logo for the 3POC. It's 3 prongs and a computer. And then Aaron also helps out with leading his IRS team, the Internet or InfoSec Research Squad. And yeah, feel free to sign up. You can also create your own teams. Don't feel like you're forced to do this. So, all right. All right. And what if I told you this was the end of my presentation? It is. So I appreciate everyone for coming out. Hopefully you learned a lot. And I look forward to you guys joining us with more CTFs in the future, because it's a great way to learn about security. You learn lots of tools that will help you in classes as well. All right. Thanks, everybody, and have a good night. Good luck with your homework. Stay safe. Stay healthy.
Yeah, I just want to say thank you so much, Chris, for preparing this presentation and the solutions and all that kind of stuff. I think the chat is very receptive right now to what you did, and we had a really good turnout. So all in all, polished ass workshop. Those of you at home, we can't hear you, but just like applause kind of silently to yourself in your rooms. And we'll see you right here next week for another workshop on cybersecurity, another collaboration with a cybersecurity group at UCSD. It's going to be hosted by RJ, who, as you previously mentioned, is the vice president, and he's going to be hosting a workshop on blue teams. We'll see what that's all about.
All right.
Yeah, thanks for coming, guys.
Thank you.
See you around.